Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. Join us live weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on blasttheradio.com.
Okay, that was supposed to be the new intro. That's the new extra, apparently, Lowell. Off to a great start today, my friend. Son of a gun.
Oh, there's nothing like live radio. By the way, Do Run Run. Who sang that? What was that group?
That was the Crystals.
The Crystal. Whatever happened to the Crystals? Was that just a one-shot thing for them?
Pretty much, I think. Let me just double check. No. And then he kissed me.
Okay, that was a reasonable hit as well.
Yeah.
That's from the 60s, right?
Yes, sir.
That's when music was music.
Okay.
60s and into the 70s. After that, it just went to hell.
Are we getting another wet-ass pussy rant here?
No, I'm not touching that anymore.
Thank you.
I don't understand any of this stuff. But at any rate, let's get on here. John, just once again, tell people how they, by the way, if you want to talk about anything, just throwing it wide open today. People are starting to complain that they've heard enough about vaccines, which I understand.
Yep.
I understand that, okay? It's still by far the number one story, but let's move on from vaccines. If there's anything else that you want to talk about, if something else that you think we should be discussing, then give us a call. The phone lines are open. The number is 613-413-2217. There's no charge. And you can email and text John. How do we go about that?
I love that you're doing my job for me. We're giving out the phone number. Look at you.
Well, somebody's got to do it, right?
Listen, the jumping off point for everything, the podcast, the show, the live video feeds, go to blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. It's all there for you. The email address, lowell@blasttheradio.com. You can text, you can call, 613-413-2217. The video is up live right now on Facebook. If you're following Lowell, the Facebook, it's also up on our YouTube channel and on a platform called Twitch as well. I know that's confusing, but there you go. And on your smart speaker,
Actually, John, I mean, all you got to do is just go to Alexa and say,
I was just going to say.
The last time I said this, Alexa started up.
I know.
It's just down in the next room. All you have to do is just say, Alexa, play Blast the Radio.
I do that on my show sometimes,
right?
Just to mess with folks. But yeah, if you just go to Alexa and Google and say, play Blast the Radio, it will.
Live.
Yep.
I have a question for all listeners and viewers. It's this. What do you think? And, you know, this is one of the things we really, I know, John, we really appreciate the texts and so forth. But what we really, really, really appreciate are texts that actually address some of the questions, some of the issues of the day. What do you think Canada, our country, should do? What do you think we can do concerning the two Michaels? I think most of you by now know the terrible story. Been imprisoned illegally, trumped up charges for more than 2 years now, essentially kept incommunicado. My understanding is that they don't even have sunlight. The conditions in their jail cells are terrible. I think on one occasion, one of our diplomats was allowed to spend a few minutes, but that's pretty well it. They're on trial right now. Apparently the trial started, I guess, on, I don't know, yesterday, day before. I don't think there have been any verdicts yet, but you know darn well what the verdicts are going to be: guilty. What should we do? What can we do? And, you know, I just hate to even suggest this, but supposing that the sentence, God knows what, I mean, let's be honest. Chinese people are great people. They make some of the best immigrants that we've got here, help to build this country, God knows. But today, the Chinese government is evil. I mean, there's no other way to describe them. They're evil. They're genocidal. They have no understanding, I don't think, of human rights. Or if they do understand, they don't care. As far as the evil Chinese government is concerned, human life is of no consequence whatsoever, except their own, of course. So, I mean, supposing that these two Michaels are sentenced to a life in prison, or worse than that, supposing they're sentenced to death. I'm not suggesting that they will be, but what let's just say that they get the worst. What should we do? What can we do? I mean, should we stop all trade? If we stop buying things from China, I'm sure that China would survive. That would be just a little bit of a blip. But I mean, we still do billions of dollars worth. I mean, you can hardly go to any store in this city and buy anything that doesn't have a "Made in China" label. We're doing our best now at the Green household to avoid "Made in China." We tried to buy some pears. I love canned pears. Okay. And we tried to buy some pears the other day at the grocery store that weren't made in China. We couldn't find any. I mean, here is a country that grows pears, and yet all I can find are pears made in China, canned in China. But so, what, in your opinion, what should we do? What can we do? How far are you prepared to go? If we stop buying things from China, it's going to cost you more to buy everything from furniture, probably to food. I don't know. Are we prepared to do that? Are the lives of the two Michaels worth that? Is the principle worth that? What do you think of what we have done so far? As far as I'm concerned, it's precious little that we have done. I guess Trudeau really scared the hell out of the Chinese this morning when he made a statement to the effect that the lack of transparency in these court cases is unacceptable. There's no question that that kind of a statement will have the Chinese government just trembling. They're probably trembling. Oh my God! Justin Trudeau has just said that what we're doing here is unacceptable. That'll scare the bejesus out of them, no question. But seriously, folks, this is your country. These are our citizens. This is your government. This is your money. This is our fate. This is the country we're leaving for our children, grandchildren. What do you think we should and can do as far as the Michaels are concerned? Lines are available. It's easy. Just pick up the phone. I'd love to talk with you, particularly someone who hasn't called before. And of course, as well, we have a phone call actually coming in. Yes, go ahead.
This person has called before. Hello, Barry.
Hey, yes, Barry.
G'day, Lowell.
Yes, sir. What do you think? What should we do?
I think we should cut off all trade, quit selling them coal. Maybe if we hit them in the breadbasket a little bit, it might affect them a little bit. And if other countries did the same thing, all these other countries that have representatives at this summit or whatever with the Chinese ambassador, wherever it is, I think it's in Alaska.
It's in Alaska, yeah.
Yeah. I think if all these other countries stop selling them food, we might be able to find other places to sell the wheat to. I don't really care about selling coal because that's another pollution problem that the Chinese don't seem to understand. I also wanted to mention, Lowell, I think today might go down in history.
In what way?
The first time that somebody at the CBC pulled the plug on the Prime Minister's talk today.
What do you mean? What happened?
Well, it just blacked out. I was watching a program on CBC right up till noon hour, and then they went straight into the noon hour news with Trudeau talking, and within about 2 minutes, the whole station went blank, and CBC News World is still off the air right now.
Maybe that's the Chinese. I don't know. It's there are a number of things that seems to me that we could and should have done. At the very least, I think we should have cut off as much trade as we could. It may have backfired. I don't know, but just to accept this, I mean, here's one of the concerns I have. If in fact we cannot or will not do anything to defend the rights of two Canadian citizens in China, I mean, doesn't this send a message to other dictatorships and evil regimes out there that they can do anything they want with a Canadian citizen? I mean, there are a number of other countries that are being run by despots and criminals and that are visited by Canadians. It just seems to me that somehow or other we've got to send a message. These are Canadian citizens. You cannot do this with impunity. You know what? One of the things that I might consider is you got Chinese nationals here. Let's arrest a bunch of them, throw them in jail, and say, okay, you want to play this game? You got 2 of ours, we got 20 of yours. I don't know. But I'll tell you, you raise the, excuse me, Barry, just a limit, and then I'll give you all the time you want. Well, you raise the issue of coal. I suspect that there is more political here than a lot of people suspect. Coal is the number one, coal is the number one export from British Columbia. And most of the coal that British Columbia is exporting goes to China. I just wonder if some of this pressure not to impose any sort of an embargo on China isn't coming from British Columbia. If British Columbia is not selling coal to China, their economy is really damaged. And I wonder if that's behind some of this reluctance to deal with China in a harsh way. Over to you, Barry.
Yeah, it could be, but even like the mine at Tumbler Ridge, BC, is owned by the Chinese now.
Yep, very true. Very true.
I don't know how many other coal mines are owned by the Chinese, but I know Tumbler Ridge. I've heard that it's owned by them, and
I just, there's no question that Trudeau relies very heavily upon the BC vote. If BC was not allowed to sell coal to China, this would damage the BC economy, which in turn would damage the Liberal vote. I just wonder. I have no knowledge. All I am doing is asking a question that I think is fair. Thank you, Barry. Thanks for calling, my boy. Thank you. Have we got any texts or emails coming in on this issue?
We absolutely do. Lisa says she was flabbergasted at Costco today. She bought a T-shirt that said "Made in Canada." She said that was amazing.
Hallelujah.
Kathy Morlang says, sadly, I don't think the two Michaels have any hope. They need a Canadian leader who is not afraid of standing up to China.
Yeah, I know, but that's all very well, but in what fashion should we stand up? Should we cease trade? Should we stop shipping coal to them? This, the coal is, as I say, is a major part of the BC economy. A lot of people don't know that. BC is the North America's major exporter of coal. The export of coal is a major bit of the BC economy, and most of that coal is going to China. Interestingly enough, it's going to the Chinese plants that are helping to create greenhouse gases that we're bankrupting ourselves to try and fight. More emails. Yes, John.
Lots of Lisas tuning in today. This is another Lisa via email, lowell@blasttheradio.com. She says, Lowell, what should we do? Stop birth tourism, for one thing, and stop international students from coming here from China. If things have to escalate, put sanctions on goods.
Okay.
Kathy says, yes, it shows all other countries that Canada has a weak leader. Chris says, can't allow Huawei to infiltrate Canada. Anything we currently make, which is very little, will be copied and stolen with little regard for patents and ownership. This in a conversation about Huawei's CEO being imprisoned. There we go. 613-413-2217. Looking for your comments today.
All right. So my question is, what should we do? What do you think we can do? And what do you think of what we have done so far? Number to call, and John Milkey has just given us that. Now, on another topic here that we will take calls and your emails on, many of you say that you're sick about talking about the vaccines. I understand that. It's still by far the number one issue of the day, the number one news story. I mean, pretty well everything in this country it relies upon vaccines. But I understand the reluctance. I understand that a lot of you are getting tired. But I would like some comment concerning going back into the red zone. We got into this a little bit yesterday, and there didn't seem to be a lot of concern. But I would like to deal specifically with restaurants, what this is doing to our restaurants. This, to me, the kind of restrictions that we are now imposing on restaurants, I think is lazy. I think it's irresponsible. I don't think there's any common sense. There's no sense whatsoever. Let me just point something out. So now they say that doesn't matter what the size of the restaurant may be, only 10 customers. I mean, in many cases, it doesn't pay to turn the lights on for that 10 customers. Now, for a small bistro, and I think, John, you raised this issue maybe yesterday.
Yep.
A small bistro, let's say that ordinarily seats 10 to 15 people. Well, restricting that to just 10 people is not a major imposition. That maybe is more or less pretty well sort of the normal traffic anyway.
No,
so it's not a big deal.
That's capacity. That place would be packed.
But it's a small little place. So you've got 10 people jammed into this small little place. That's okay. But in a large restaurant like Fratelli or Baton Rouge, or I could go on Milestones or Moxie's or any of these restaurants that are around me. These are big, big places. Putting 10 people in a big restaurant like makes no sense whatsoever. And by the way, my wife is a member of Movati that tries to keep fit. They're restricting now. The gym that she goes to, get this, is 75,000 square feet. And all they're allowing is 10 people in 75,000 square feet. That makes no sense. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And as a consequence, there's no classes. They can't afford to do that. But what I'm saying is that there should be some relationship, some correlation between the number of people and the area. One restaurant owner is quoted, I think it's in the Sun this morning, is saying, if I'm only allowed 10 patrons at a time, each patron will have about 850 square feet. That's about twice the size of the average living room per person. That makes no sense. 10 people, and I keep coming back to Baton Rouge because I'm very familiar. This is a big, big restaurant. Easily sit, I would think, 200 people, okay? 10 people? I mean, it's like, I hope you understand what I'm saying. It makes no sense. I think, in this case, I support Doug Ford. I think most of what he's done, he's doing his best. But I think on this issue, he is being badly misled by the health experts. The health experts are giving this no thought whatsoever. There's no rationale to this. He's just following what they say. It makes no sense that a small little place that ordinarily seats 10 to 15 people is allowed 10 people in a small confined space, but a huge restaurant that'll sit 200 or more is only allowed 10. It makes no sense. Yes.
Yeah, and
Shields.
you want to get a word in for Shields? I had a comment on the whole restaurant thing.
Please do.
Just sort of a comparison. And you and I talked about this off the air yesterday. Why do we keep allowing the Costcos and the Walmarts to open? You want to help small business? Let them open. Close a Costco for a change. But that's not even in the conversation. That drives me nuts.
Very good point. The big box stores, get this, the big box stores are allowed 75% of normal occupancy. In many cases, the restaurants are allowed about 5% normal occupancy. That is not right. Doug Ford, people from the Ford office listen to this program. This makes no sense. Ordinarily, the Ford administration uses some common sense, down to earth. This is not down to earth. This is not common sense. This is totally unfair. Not only that, in no way does it help health. Shields. Got to get a word in here for Shields. The deadline is approaching. We keep pointing this out, and we've got a number of people who are thanking for this. Even if you decide that you're going to give the big box stores the business instead of a local business, that's up to you. It's up to you. But I just want to point out, no matter where you're going to shop, the government rebate program, which is substantial on many of the appliances, ends at the end of this month. Shields, now, and many of the big box stores have not been offering this because, to be honest with you, their money has run out as far as the rebates. Shields, no, it's a very large dealership with a big warehouse. They still have all of the product in stock. You won't have to wait. And they are still, until the end of this month, offering these government rebates. The rebates are all listed there. All you go is shields.ca, and you'll see it all there. Folks, if you can, deal local, deal with Shields. Yes, John, more emails pouring in.
Yeah, and comments as well on your Facebook page. Darlene says, I totally agree with you regarding the restrictions on restaurants. At the very least, they should be going by seating capacity or fire code seating and allow a percentage. 10 people is absolutely ridiculous. I really feel for the owners, having purchased all their supplies, etc., and now much of it will go to waste. I think you hit the nail on the head. Punish the guilty parties, not the small business owners. Arthur says, to limit the number regardless of size is proof that this is not about health. Lisa adds, Etches was the one who called for the red zone again. Why keep this open and closing routine going? They shouldn't open up to orange until this infection rate is very, very low. And do you want comments regarding China? Because they're still trickling in.
Sure, please.
Let me just get back to this texture right here. Sorry, there we go. China has considerate financial interests in Canadian crude oil industry out in Alberta. Our government should consider seizing those assets until such time as Michael ×2 are released. Bruce, the Pinster. And this one here, we should have locked Meng up in a filthy prison just like they are doing to the two Michaels, and we should have also put some sort of embargo on them. Those are texts.
Let me just suggest. I'm glad you raised this. This drives me crazy. And by the way, I did talk about this some time ago. Meng's children and husband were given special dispensation to travel to this country, despite the rule against travel from China, et cetera, et cetera. So Meng's, I think it's two children and her husband, joined her for Christmas. And they went out for a beautiful Christmas dinner, et cetera, et cetera. My understanding is that the husband and two children are still living with Meng. She has an ankle bracelet, but essentially is allowed to roam wherever she wants as a chauffeur-driven automobile, et cetera, et cetera. Security guards, which we are paying for, take her all around. Apparently she spends a lot of time, got all kinds of money, shopping in BC and so forth. Meantime, our two Michaels, you're right, are locked up in a filthy jail, not even allowed daylight. Folks, this is not right. This is not the Canadian way, okay? I mean, why would we give special dispensation to the husband and children of one of the heads of Huawei while our two people are locked up in terrible conditions? And I've asked this question before, John, many times, and I've never really got an answer. What does China have on our prime minister that he continues to kowtow to one of the most evil administrations we have seen since the Second World War? These people, this government is evil. Yes, John, more emails coming in.
David on Facebook says, to do this lockdown prior to the weekend was cruel. Adjust with capacity makes sense. A text, and by the way, we invite your text and your phone calls at 613-413-2217. Lowell, someone should educate the hypocrites in BC that don't want pipelines and oil tankers because of pollution, that the coal they sell to China is polluting the air that comes across the Pacific Ocean that they breathe.
BC, I have always nominated the province of BC as the most hypocritical, even more hypocritical than Quebec, the most hypocritical province, in fact, the most hypocritical jurisdiction in North America, doing everything they can to stop a pipeline coming so that we could supply oil and natural gas to China, which is far less pollution from it than from coal. But in the meantime, Vancouver, BC, is the North America's #1 exporter of coal to China. Beautiful. What a bunch of bloody hypocrites out there. Yes, more emails coming in, John.
Comment from Peter says, China and the U.S. is having a massive trade war soon. China is walking all over the new U.S. government, and they've been doing it since Trudeau has been in power. We need to send the CFO, I believe this is of Huawei, to the U.S., or get our Michaels back. Restaurants are going to be closing even more. Lockdowns clearly don't work. 10 people in a restaurant don't work. Many apps like Skip the Dishes are being used, or drive-through, or fast food. Over on Facebook, we've got Trudeau admires their basic dictatorship. Remember, he loves to keep kissing their asses. Kathy says the Chinese have donated millions to the Liberal Party. Dana says, I agree with what you were stating. It makes no sense to have 75% capacity allowed in Costco and other big box stores and only allow 10 people in restaurants and gyms. Our economy is dead, and our morale is also dead. The government is messed up. Some of the comments trickling in.
On another topic. There's a rumor making the rounds. Actually, I discussed this on the Rob Snow Show last week. But the rumor making the rounds is that former Mayor Bob Chiarelli, there's a name from the past, is thinking of taking on Jim Watson in the next municipal election here in Ottawa. What do you think? Now, I don't think there's any question. Bob did a pretty good job as mayor of this city. I worked very closely with Bob Chiarelli when he was mayor of Ottawa during the Great Ice Storm. He put together a group of people, and it was very effective. He was very cooperative, and I think that he did. There's no question he did a good job. However, as the Minister of Energy for the province of Ontario under Kathleen Wynne, he was a disaster. The whole energy program was a disaster. I pressed Bob on 2 or 3 issues, and some of the answers that I got back from him were just nonsensical. However, I think that in all probability he was under Kathleen Wynne's thumb. Sadly, he didn't have the courage to come from out underneath that thumb. But as mayor, I think he did a good job. But what do you think? Jim Watson, no question, has been, in my opinion, a reasonably good mayor. Not very innovative, not very exciting. But I think he's done not a bad job for this city so far. But what do you think of Bob Chiarelli? And for that matter, is there anybody else that you would like to see run against the mayor? I'll tell you this, it would certainly be very nice to have a real, honest-to-goodness, competitive election in this city. So what do you think? Have you got any other emails coming up there, John? I got to get a commercial.
Yeah, we'll get a commercial in a second. Ann says, Hydro Bob? No way. And we're just starting to get the comments in now, but if you want to talk about your sponsor, maybe we'll have a few when you're done on the other side.
Centennial Glass. I apologize to Centennial. I didn't get a commercial in for them yesterday. But here is not. Oh, but I must tell you what springs to mind. We're out at a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and they had something very innovative. They had shields, glass shields, between various tables on casters. I thought this was very novel, so that they could, in other words, you've got a group coming here. Well, you can push a shield here to protect this group from others. Now, these days, with going in the red zone doesn't matter. But when we get back to something reasonable, but I just thought this was really neat. And my understanding is a Centennial Glass made that. Just one example of how innovative they can be. These glass shields on casters so that you can move them around and protect protect various groups and so forth. It doesn't matter what it is, folks. If it's glass, you've got some ideas, for example, for a new patio. You know what some people are doing, and what I would love to do, if I was 10 years younger, I'd put a little bit of a greenhouse over in the back of my house here. I think that'd be a great idea. Could sit out in the sunshine today, John. Be wonderful. Grow some plants a little bit early. They have some plants. Centennial Glass has plants. Will do a great job doing it. And you know what? Their price is very, very competitive. They know what they're doing. Good people, honest people. Centennial Glass. Yes, John, more emails coming in.
What kind of plants are we growing? Never mind. David says, we need someone with fresh and new ideas for mayor. Cheryl votes you for mayor. James votes you for mayor. So far, I'm not getting any nominations, but thanks, folks. You've got a couple of texts here at 613-413-2217, not on the mayor question, but this one says, hi, Lowell. What gets me is Ford is hearing this idea of size limits in restaurants, etc., but he keeps ignoring it and referring to his medical staff. I say this medical staff have so much authority over us, we need to vote them in. Okay. And a question, has Aaron O'Toole called on the Prime Minister to do something about China and the two Michaels?
Yes, he has. He's been quite adamant about this. The problem, of course, when we're talking about the Michaels is I think we have to understand that in all probability, no matter what we do, I think their fate is sealed. And what that fate is, I don't know. They may let them go. What I'm saying is that no matter what we do, I don't think it's going to have much influence on the Chinese. But it seems to me that we need to send a message to other nations, that we need to send a message to fellow Canadians, that if you are a Canadian citizen, a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian. Remember who said that? That no matter where you go, the full force of your government will have your back. John Milkey, you're always saying you got my back. Well, I think that Canada needs to send a signal that no matter what the situation, no matter where you are, if you're Canadian, we have your back. Canada has your back. I see no evidence of that whatsoever from the Trudeau government as it applies to the Michaels. Yes, John, more emails coming in.
Yeah,
here.
A comment over on Twitch. Madge says, follow the money, and that will get all the answers you're looking for. Why the Michaels are in holding, why exports are what they are, why we don't manufacture much here in Canada. Take a really good look at the corporations and their figureheads who answer to shareholders and those of us who benefit from the profits. Connect some of the dots, and we'll all get the picture. An email to lowell@blasttheradio.com. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say,
Sure.
How much responsibility do you think we as Canadians have, though? I mean, let's be honest. We keep buying. I'm among them. We keep buying products made in China. If we stop buying products made in China, Well, maybe that might give a boost to Canadian manufacturers. Somehow or other, we should be able to buy pears that are canned and picked in Canada. I don't understand that. I've told this story last year. Came home, somebody in the family here came home with a big bag of potting soil. I looked at the bag, made in China or come from China. We're importing soil from China. This makes no sense. But if we didn't buy it, they couldn't sell it. By the way, we're getting a little short of time here. Longtime listeners to the Lowell Green Show will remember Farmer John. For several years, Farmer John made a number of appearances on the Lowell Green Show. People loved him. He had a perspective that was different. He was funny. And by the way, Farmer John, who, by the way, is John Cinnamon, is a heck of a great singer. But at any rate, we just got word that he has apparently just about fully recovered. He had COVID-19. And he says while he had a relatively minor case, didn't require hospitalization, he said it was 2 weeks of absolute terrible pain in his stomach and in his head. And his message to everybody is, look, folks, I have no idea how I got this. I'm the only member of the family that did. But don't fool around with COVID. This is serious stuff. It's real. Terrible pain, even though not a serious case, terrible pain for 2 solid weeks. Thank you, John. Really, really good to hear from you, and I hope that you make a full recovery from this. Yes, John, we have some more emails coming in.
Kind of on the same subject, people are asking if Irish Tom is around.
I haven't heard from Irish Tom.
Yeah, I haven't heard him on other shows either lately, and he calls all the shows.
His most famous quote that's become almost standard now, almost a part of the lexicon, is that liberalism is a mental disease. This is something that he came up with, and a lot of people really appreciate it. Some people even believe it. All right, folks, thank you very much. Thank you, John. We got through a full show here. That's wonderful. Have a good weekend, and please wear your mask. Just keep your distance, and for goodness sakes, if you can, support local business. God, they need you. Thank you.
Lowell Green, live on blasttheradio.com. Show info and links at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Subscribe to the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and more. Or ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. Join us live weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on blasttheradio.com.